9 months after signing the divorce papers that ended their 2-year marriage, Mafia boss Dominic Castellano saw his ex-wife Iris standing at a crosswalk holding a newborn baby, and the world stopped. Everything around him blurred into insignificance as he stared at the tiny bundle in her arms, at the way she cradled the infant with fierce protectiveness, at the exhaustion and love written across her face. His mind raced through impossible calculations. 9 months. The divorce had been finalized exactly 9 months ago, which meant that baby, that child she was holding so carefully, could be his. The realization hit him like a physical blow, stealing his breath, freezing him in place while traffic rushed past and the city moved around him. She hadn't told him. She'd walked away, signed the papers, disappeared from his life without a word, and now she was here, holding what might be his child, and he had approximately 30 seconds before that crosswalk signal changed, and she vanished into the crowd again, taking his entire world with her. My name is Dominic Castellano, and 3 years ago, I built a legitimate business empire worth $3.2 billion after spending a decade transitioning away from the criminal operations I'd inherited from my father. I own real estate portfolios valued at over $800 million. I run investment firms managing $4 billion in assets. I employ over 2,000 people across completely legal enterprises. I'm also a man who destroyed the best thing that ever happened to him. 2 years ago, I married Iris Laurent, an investigative journalist who'd been researching organized crime families for a documentary series. She'd approached me for an interview about my transition from criminal heir to legitimate businessman. I'd been captivated immediately, not just by her beauty, though she was stunning, but by her intelligence, her fearlessness, the way she asked questions that made me think, the way she looked at me like I was more than my last name. We'd fallen in love quickly, married 6 months after meeting. And for 18 months, I thought I'd found something I never believed existed: genuine happiness, a partnership, someone who saw past the reputation and the money to the person I was trying to become. But my world had caught up with us. Threats from rivals who thought I'd gone soft, attempts on my life that put her in danger, constant security, the pressure of being married to someone whose past included things she'd rather not know details about, the isolation that came with being protected every moment of every day. I'd handled it badly, became controlling, possessive, insisted on decisions without consulting her, prioritized her safety over her autonomy, made choices that were meant to protect her but ended up suffocating her. 1 year into our marriage, she'd asked for space, asked me to trust her to make her own decisions about risk, asked me to treat her like a partner instead of something fragile that needed constant protection. I hadn't listened, had doubled security instead, made more unilateral decisions, convinced myself I knew better. 6 months later, she'd asked for a divorce. I'd fought it initially, refused to sign, tried to convince her we could fix it, but she'd been done, exhausted, broken by my inability to see her as an equal instead of something to guard. 3 months of legal battles later, we'd finalized everything. She'd taken nothing, refused alimony, refused the settlement I'd offered, refused everything except her personal belongings and her freedom. She'd disappeared, changed her number, moved to a location I couldn't find despite extensive resources, cut all contact completely. For 9 months I'd respected that distance, tried to move forward, failed spectacularly at forgetting her, lay awake most nights wondering if I'd made a catastrophic mistake, if I should have tried harder, fought differently, listened better. And now she was standing 50 feet away, holding a baby that looked impossibly small in her arms. The crosswalk signal was counting down. 20 seconds. 15. I forced my legs to move, crossed the street faster than I should have, reached her side just as she stepped onto the sidewalk. Iris. She turned, and the shock on her face was immediate. The color drained from her cheeks. Her arms tightened protectively around the baby. Dominic. Her voice was barely a whisper. What are you doing here? I could ask you the same thing. My eyes dropped to the bundle in her arms. Is that... I need to go. She stepped back, panic clear in her expression. Iris, wait. I moved to block her path gently. Please, just... Is that my child? The silence that followed was deafening. Her eyes filled with tears. Her jaw tightened. And in that moment, I had my answer. How old? My voice came out rough. 3 weeks. 3 weeks. She'd given birth 3 weeks ago. Alone. Without me. Had been carrying my child when she signed the divorce papers and walked away. Why didn't you tell me? The pain in those words surprised even me. Because you would have used it as leverage. She said it flatly. You would have refused the divorce. Used the pregnancy to control me more. To justify even more restrictions on my life. I couldn't do that. I couldn't raise a child in that environment. That's not fair. But even as I said it, I knew she was probably right. Iris, this is my child. I had a right to know. You had a right to a lot of things. Her voice broke. But you forfeited those rights when you made our marriage a prison. When you stopped seeing me as a person and started treating me like a possession. I did what I had to do to protect myself. And my baby. Our baby. I corrected automatically. My baby. She held my gaze. Legally, completely mine. You signed away all rights when you signed those divorce papers. You have no claim here, Dominic. The words hit like bullets. I didn't know. My voice was almost pleading. If I'd known you were pregnant, I never would have signed. Never would have let you go. Exactly, she said quietly. That's exactly why I didn't tell you. Because you don't get to let me go. I'm not yours to release or keep. I'm my own person. And this baby deserves better than being used as a bargaining chip in our failed marriage. She tried to walk past me. I didn't stop her physically, would never do that. But my words did. Please, I said. Just, please, give me 5 minutes. Let me see my child. Let me understand what I'm being shut out from. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. She hesitated. I saw the internal battle play across her face. Finally, she sighed. There's a coffee shop on the corner. She gestured. 5 minutes. Then you leave me alone. Agree to those terms, or I walk away now. Agreed. I would have agreed to almost anything for those 5 minutes. If you're hooked on this story already, don't forget to like this video right now. Drop a comment telling me if Dominic deserves a chance or if Iris is right to keep him away. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what happens when he sees his child up close. Hit that notification bell. The coffee shop was quiet. Mid-afternoon lull. We sat in a corner booth and Iris carefully adjusted the blanket around the baby. Can I? I gestured hesitantly. She studied me for a long moment, then slowly, carefully, shifted to show me the baby's face. My breath caught. She was perfect. Tiny features, dark hair, skin that looked impossibly soft, sleeping peacefully, completely unaware of the monumental moment happening around her. She? I asked quietly. She, Iris confirmed. Olivia Laurent, not Castellano, Laurent. My daughter didn't even carry my name. She's beautiful. The words felt inadequate. Iris, she's perfect. She is. There was fierce pride in Iris's voice. She's healthy, strong. The delivery was complicated, but we both made it through fine. Complicated. She'd gone through a complicated delivery alone. Without me. Without support. You should have told me. I said again. I would have been there. Would have made sure you had the best doctors. The best care. Anything you needed. I had good care. She said. I made sure of that. And I wasn't alone. I had friends. People who supported me without trying to control every aspect of my life. The words stung because they were true. I'm sorry, I said, for everything. For how I handled our marriage. For making you feel trapped. For not listening when you tried to tell me what you needed. I'm sorry, Iris. More than you know. I know you are, she said quietly. But sorry doesn't change what happened. Doesn't erase 18 months of feeling like I couldn't breathe. Of having every decision questioned. Every movement tracked. Every choice overruled because you knew better. I was trying to protect you. I know. She looked at me directly. But I didn't need protection from the world, Dominic. I needed partnership. I needed you to trust me. To respect my ability to make my own choices even when they scared you. And you couldn't do that. I was afraid. The admission came out before I could stop it. Afraid of losing you. Of something happening to you because of who I am. Who I was. The enemies my family made. The targets that come with my name. I saw threats everywhere and I couldn't bear the thought of you getting hurt because of me. So you hurt me yourself instead. She said it without malice. Just fact. You became the thing I needed protecting from. And I couldn't stay in that. Couldn't raise a child in that environment. So I left. Olivia stirred, making a small sound. Iris immediately adjusted her hold, gently rocking, murmuring soft reassurance. You're good at that, I observed. Being a mother. I'm learning. She smiled slightly. It's terrifying and wonderful and exhausting all at once. But I wouldn't change it. What's your plan? I asked. Long term. How are you managing financially? Where are you living? Do you have support? I saw her walls go up immediately. That's not your concern. Her voice cooled. I'm managing. That's all you need to know. Iris, she's my daughter. Of course it's my concern. No, she said firmly. You signed divorce papers. You gave up the right to know those details. And I'm not giving you information you can use to control my life again. I'm not trying to control anything. I protested. I'm trying to help. I have resources. Money. I could make sure you're both comfortable. Safe. That Olivia has everything she needs. We have everything we need. She started gathering her things. Your 5 minutes are up. Thank you for respecting the time limit. Goodbye, Dominic. Wait. I reached out but stopped before actually touching her. Please. I know I have no rights. I know I messed up beyond measure. But she's my daughter. Can I at least see her sometimes? Be part of her life somehow? No. The word was final. Because I know how this goes. I give you an inch, you take a mile. I let you see her once. Suddenly, you're demanding custody arrangements. Showing up unannounced. Using your money and connections to force yourself into our lives. I can't do that. Won't do that. I wouldn't. Yes, you would. She cut me off. Because that's who you are, Dominic. When you want something, you take it. You don't know how to want something without consuming it completely. And I won't let you consume my daughter the way you tried to consume me. She stood, carefully securing Olivia in a carrier I hadn't noticed before. If you have any respect for me at all, you'll let us go, she said quietly. You'll let me raise my daughter in peace. Without interference. Without your presence complicating everything. That's what I'm asking. It's the only thing I'm asking. I can't do that. I stood too. I can't just pretend I don't have a daughter. Can't walk away from this. Then I'll make it easy for you. Her voice hardened. If you try to contact me again, if you try to find where I live, if you make any attempt to force yourself into our lives, I'll disappear. Completely. I have resources of my own now. Connections from my journalism work. I can vanish in ways you won't be able to track. And you'll never see her again. Ever. Is that what you want? The threat was real. I could see it in her eyes. She would do exactly what she was saying. No, I said quietly. That's not what I want. Then respect my boundaries. She adjusted the carrier strap. Goodbye, Dominic. I hope you find the peace you're looking for. I really do. But you won't find it by trying to control me or my daughter. She left, walked out of the coffee shop, disappeared into the afternoon crowd, and I stood there, frozen again, watching my entire world walk away for the second time. Before we continue, I need to ask you something. Where are you watching this story from? What country? Drop your location in the comments right now. And tell me, should Dominic respect Iris's wishes or fight for his daughter? If you want more stories with impossible choices, second chances, and the kind of heartbreak that changes everything, you absolutely must subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Turn on all notifications so you never miss when I drop a new story. Seriously, subscribe right now. Then let's get back to Dominic and Iris. For 2 weeks, I honored her request. Didn't try to find her. Didn't hire investigators. Didn't use the considerable resources at my disposal to track her down. Instead, I sat in my penthouse, a property worth $45 million that felt completely empty, and thought about everything she'd said, about how I'd controlled instead of partnered, how I'd suffocated instead of protected, how I'd destroyed the best thing in my life because I couldn't see past my own fear. I also thought about Olivia, about the daughter I'd never known existed until 2 weeks ago, about what it meant that I had a child I had no right to see, no claim to, no relationship with. The unfairness of it consumed me initially. She'd kept this from me, made choices about my child without my input, cut me out completely. But the more I thought about it, really thought about it instead of just reacting, the more I understood why. I had been controlling, had made our marriage a cage disguised as protection, had refused to see her as capable of making her own decisions, had treated her like something fragile that needed managing instead of a brilliant, strong woman who could handle herself. She'd been right to leave, right to protect herself and our daughter from the suffocating dynamic I'd created. But that didn't change the fact that I had a daughter, that somewhere in this city, my child was growing up without me, that every day that passed was a day I was missing, a moment I'd never get back. On day 15, my lawyer called. Mr. Castellano, we've received legal documents. His voice was carefully neutral. From Iris Laurent's attorney, regarding parental rights. My heart stopped. What kind of documents? She's formally requesting that you relinquish all parental rights to the child Olivia Laurent. Complete termination. In exchange, she's offering to never pursue child support or make any financial claims. Essentially, she's offering you a clean break. No obligations. No rights. No contact. No. The word came out immediately. Absolutely not. Mr. Castellano, I should inform you that fighting this will be complicated. She has documentation showing she concealed the pregnancy during divorce proceedings. She could argue that you knowingly signed away rights when you finalized the divorce. The courts might. I don't care what the courts might do. I cut him off. I'm not signing away my daughter. Not now. Not ever. Then you should know she's prepared to fight. Her attorney is excellent. They've already prepared a case outlining your controlling behavior during the marriage, your criminal family history, the danger associated with your name. They'll argue that contact with you puts the child at risk. That's not fair. I've been completely legitimate for 3 years. My operations are clean. Your last name isn't, he said gently. Your family's reputation precedes you, and she has a point about the danger. There have been 3 attempts on your life in the past 2 years alone. He was right. The Castellano name came with threats, with enemies my father had made, with people who saw me as either a target or a traitor to the criminal legacy. What are my options? I asked. Sign the papers. Walk away. Live your life without complication. He paused. Or fight. Demand paternity testing to establish legal rights. Pursue custody arrangements. Prepare for a very public, very messy legal battle that will expose both of you to scrutiny and put the child in the middle of everything. Those are your only real options here. Both options felt impossible. I need time, I said finally, to think, to figure out what's actually best for Olivia instead of just what I want. You have 72 hours before they file formally, he said. After that, this gets much more complicated. I hung up and stared out at the city, mind racing. What was best for Olivia? Not what I wanted. Not what would satisfy my need to be a father. But what was actually best for my daughter? Growing up with a father whose name brought danger? Who had enemies that might target her to get to me? Who came from a criminal legacy, even if I'd personally gone legitimate? Or growing up without a father at all? Never knowing me? Being raised by Iris? Alone? Neither option felt right. I thought about calling Iris, about trying to talk this through, but I'd promised to respect her boundaries, and showing up now, trying to negotiate, would be exactly the controlling behavior she'd left me over. I was trapped by my own actions, by the consequences of who I'd been and what I'd done. On day 16, everything changed. I was in a business meeting, negotiating the purchase of a property portfolio worth $200 million, when my head of security burst in. We have a situation. His face was grim. Iris Laurent's apartment was broken into 2 hours ago. She and the child are missing. The world tilted. What? I stood so fast my chair crashed backward. Missing how? By who? We don't know yet. Her neighbor called it in. Door was kicked in. Signs of struggle. No sign of her or the baby. He pulled up security footage on his tablet. This was captured by a building camera across the street. The video showed 2 men forcibly escorting Iris, carrying Olivia, into a black SUV. She was fighting, trying to resist, protecting Olivia with her body even as they shoved her into the vehicle. When? My voice was deadly calm in a way that meant I was seconds from losing all control. 2 hours and 17 minutes ago. He checked his watch. We just found out because someone recognized her from your wedding photos. Called our tip line thinking we might want to know. Who has her? I was already moving toward the door. What do they want? We're working on IDing the men, but sir, he hesitated. There's a message, left at her apartment. He handed me a photo, taken at the scene. A note pinned to her kitchen table. You took from us. We take from you. $50 million, or you never see them again. You have 48 hours. The Volkov organization. Volkov, the Russian crime family that had been trying to move into my territory for years, that I'd repeatedly blocked from acquiring properties and businesses they wanted. That saw my transition to legitimacy as weakness. They'd taken Iris and Olivia to get to me. Assemble the team, I said, voice ice. Everyone, now, and get me everything we have on Volkov's current operations. Every property, every business, every known associate, everything. Sir, should we contact the police? FBI? This is a kidnapping. No police. I cut him off. No FBI, no outside involvement. We handle this ourselves. Because if Volkov gets spooked, if they think law enforcement is involved, they'll kill them both to eliminate witnesses. Sir, that's my daughter, I said, voice breaking slightly on the last word, and the mother of my child, the woman I love. I'm not risking their lives on protocol. We get them back, whatever it takes. Understood? Understood. He was already making calls. I pulled out my phone, called my lawyer. I need you to prepare $50 million, I said when he answered. Liquid, untraceable. Have it ready in 24 hours. Mr. Castellano, what's happening? Just do it. I hung up. Then I did something I'd sworn I'd never do again. Something I'd walked away from when I decided to go legitimate. I called the number I'd kept for emergencies, the one that connected me to people from my old life, people who operated outside the law, who could do things legal channels couldn't. It's Castellano, I said when someone answered. I need a team. The kind that doesn't ask questions and doesn't leave witnesses. I'm calling in every favor I'm owed, and I'm willing to pay whatever it costs. There was a pause. Then, what's the target? The Volkov organization has my ex-wife and my infant daughter, I said flatly. I want them back, and I want everyone involved to understand that touching what's mine has permanent consequences. Understood. We'll be ready in 6 hours. I hung up and stared at my reflection in the office window. I'd spent 3 years building legitimacy, creating distance from the criminal world I'd been born into, becoming someone better than my father. All of that was about to end, because saving Iris and Olivia mattered more than my reputation, more than my carefully constructed legitimate empire, more than anything. If getting them back meant becoming the monster I'd tried to escape, so be it. Some things were worth any price. If you're still hooked on Dominic's desperate race to save his family, drop a like right now. Let me know in the comments if he's doing the right thing or making everything worse. And make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss what happens next. The next 36 hours were a blur of intelligence gathering, planning, and preparation. My team identified 3 properties where Volkov might be holding them. We assembled a group of 20 people, half from my legitimate security company, half from my old contacts who operated in gray areas. The plan was simple. Hit all 3 locations simultaneously. Extract Iris and Olivia. Leave no evidence. Pay the ransom if necessary as backup. It was risky, dangerous, could go catastrophically wrong. But doing nothing, waiting for Volkov to make the next move, felt impossible. At hour 41, we got a break. One of my tech people traced cell phone signals from Iris's phone, which she'd somehow managed to keep hidden and active. It pinged from a warehouse in Red Hook, one of our suspected locations. That's it, I said, studying the building layout. That's where they are. How certain are you? My head of security asked. If we hit the wrong location and they realize we're coming, I'm certain. I cut him off. Iris is smart. She kept her phone, left it on, knowing I'd find it, knowing I'd come. That's her. That's exactly what she'd do. At hour 46, we moved. 20 people, 4 vehicles, coordinated assault on a warehouse that intelligence suggested held 8 to 12 Volkov soldiers. The odds weren't great, but they were acceptable. We breached at 2:47 a.m. Fast, violent, overwhelming. I won't describe the details, won't glorify what happened. We'll just say that when you threaten someone's child, when you take what matters most, you face consequences. We cleared the building in 11 minutes, found Iris and Olivia in a back room. Iris had positioned herself between Olivia and the door, holding our daughter close, eyes fierce despite obvious exhaustion and fear. Dominic. She said my name like a prayer and a curse combined. Are you hurt? I crossed to her quickly, scanning for injuries. Either of you? We're okay. She was shaking. They didn't hurt us, just kept us locked in here. But Dominic, how did you? Later. I carefully helped her stand, noting how she held Olivia protectively even now. We need to move. Now. What did you do? She looked past me at the hallway, at my team securing the area. Dominic, what did you do? What I had to. I met her eyes. To get you back, to keep you safe. What I should have done differently the first time. We got them out, into a secure vehicle, drove to a safe location, a property I owned under a shell corporation that Volkov couldn't trace. Only when we were inside, with security posted, did Iris finally let herself break down. She sat on the couch, still holding Olivia, and started crying. Deep, shaking sobs that came from somewhere primal. I sat beside her, close but not touching, respecting boundaries even now. You're safe, I said quietly. Both of you, I promise. You're safe now. You came, she said through tears. Even after I pushed you away, even after I threatened to disappear, you came. Of course I came. I wanted to reach out, to comfort her, but kept my hands to myself. Did you really think I wouldn't? I didn't know. She looked at me, eyes red. I didn't know if you'd even find out, if anyone would tell you, if you'd care after how I treated you. Iris, you're the mother of my child. More than that, I struggled to find words. You're everything. You've always been everything. I messed up our marriage catastrophically, handled everything wrong, but that doesn't change how I feel. Doesn't change that I'd burn the world down to keep you safe. That's exactly what I was afraid of, she said quietly. That intensity, that willingness to destroy everything for me. It's overwhelming. I know, I said, and I'm sorry for all of it, for being so controlling, for not listening, for making you feel trapped, for everything that drove you away. She was quiet for a long moment, just holding Olivia, who had remarkably slept through most of the ordeal. "What happened at that warehouse?" she asked finally. "I got you back," I said simply. "That's what matters." "Dominic." She turned to look at me directly. "What did you do? Did people get hurt?" I could have lied. Should have, probably. But she deserved honesty. "Yes," I said. "The people who took you, who threatened my daughter, who put you in danger, they faced consequences. I'm not sorry for that. Won't apologize for protecting you." "You went back," she said, "to your old life, the thing you spent 3 years walking away from. You went back because of us. I'd go back to hell itself for you." I said it simply, because it was true. Every time, without hesitation. "That's what I'm afraid of," she whispered. "That loving me means you become someone you don't want to be. That being with me costs you the person you were trying to become. You have that backward," I said gently. "Being without you cost me everything. You made me want to be better, want to build something good, want to have a life worth living instead of just surviving. Losing you broke me, Iris. These past 9 months have been the worst of my life, not because I was alone, but because I knew I'd destroyed the best thing I ever had." She started crying again, quiet tears that broke my heart. "I don't know what to do," she admitted. "Part of me wants to trust you, wants to believe you've changed, wants to give you another chance. But part of me is terrified. Terrified that we'll end up exactly where we were, that you'll become controlling again, that I'll lose myself trying to be what you need." "Then don't," I said. "Don't trust me. Don't give me another chance. Just let me help you right now. Let me keep you safe until we're certain Volkov won't retaliate. Let me make sure Olivia is protected. And then, when the danger passes, you can decide. You can choose whether to give me another chance or cut me out completely. But please, let me at least do this. Let me keep my daughter safe." She studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Okay," she said quietly. "Until the danger passes. Then we talk, really talk, about what comes next, about what's best for Olivia, about whether there's any possibility of us trying again. Agreed?" "Agreed," I said, relief flooding through me. It wasn't forgiveness, wasn't reconciliation, but it was a chance. The first real chance I'd had in 9 months, and I wasn't going to waste it. Over the next 3 weeks, we stayed at the safe house. My team dismantled the Volkov operation completely. Not through violence. I'd had enough of that. But through legal pressure, strategic business moves, and making it clear that touching my family meant facing consequences they couldn't survive. Volkov's leadership reached out on day 19, offered apologies, swore they'd had no knowledge of the kidnapping, that it had been rogue elements acting without authorization, offered compensation. I refused the money, accepted the apology with the understanding that if anyone associated with their organization ever came near my family again, the consequences would be absolute. They agreed, immediately, emphatically. The threat was over, which meant Iris had a decision to make. On day 22, we finally had the conversation we'd been avoiding. Olivia was sleeping. We were sitting in the living room, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between us. "I've been thinking," she started, "about us, about what happened, about whether there's any possibility of trying again." "And?" I kept my voice neutral, terrified of her answer. "I need to know you've actually changed." She looked at me directly. "Not just that you're sorry, not just that you came for us when we were in danger, but that you've fundamentally changed how you see relationships, how you see partnership, how you see me." "I have," I said immediately, then stopped. "No, that's not fair. I can't just say I've changed and expect you to believe it. I need to show you, prove it through actions instead of words." "How?" "By doing what I should have done in our marriage," I said. "By listening, by respecting your decisions even when they scare me, by treating you like a capable partner instead of something fragile, by trusting you to know what's best for yourself and our daughter." "That's going to be hard for you," she said gently. "You're wired to protect, to control, to manage threats. Asking you to step back and trust goes against every instinct you have." "I know," I admitted, "but I'm willing to try, willing to fail and keep trying, willing to do whatever it takes to be someone you can actually build a life with instead of someone you need to escape from." She was quiet, thinking. "I want to try," she said finally, "but slowly, not jumping back into marriage, not moving back in together immediately, just dating, getting to know each other again without the pressure of being married, learning if we can actually partner instead of constantly fighting for control. I can do that." Hope bloomed in my chest. "Whatever pace you need, whatever boundaries you want, I'll respect all of it. And I want joint custody," she continued. Legal formal arrangements, not you seeing Olivia only when I allow it. Actual shared parenting, which means you get to make decisions about her too, even when I disagree, even when it scares me, because partnership goes both ways. Are you sure? I asked. I don't want to force. I'm sure. She cut me off gently. You're her father. You have rights. More importantly, she deserves to know you, to have you in her life. I was wrong to try to cut you out completely. That wasn't fair to either of you. Thank you. The words felt inadequate, for giving me this chance, for trusting me with our daughter, for being willing to try despite everything I did wrong. Don't make me regret it, she said, but there was a slight smile. Because Dominic, I meant what I said before. If you become controlling again, if you start making decisions for me instead of with me, I'm gone. And this time, I'll make sure you never find us. Understood? Understood, I said seriously. I won't mess this up again. I can't, because losing you once nearly destroyed me. Losing you twice would end me completely. Then don't lose me, she said simply. Just be the partner I need, the father Olivia deserves, the man I fell in love with before everything got complicated. I can do that. I reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, I took her hand gently. I will do that, every single day, for as long as you'll let me. She squeezed my hand, and for the first time in 9 months I felt like maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay. The next year was challenging. We dated, carefully, slowly, learning each other again. I practiced letting go of control, respected her decisions even when they scared me, consulted her instead of dictating, listened instead of assuming I knew better. It was hard, against every protective instinct I had. But seeing her relax, watching her trust me again, made every moment of restraint worth it. I also got to know my daughter, Olivia, who had my eyes and Iris's smile, who was brilliant and curious and absolutely perfect. Being a father was simultaneously the hardest and best thing I'd ever done. 18 months after our divorce, I proposed again, not with grand gestures or pressure, just a quiet question on a Tuesday night while we were watching Olivia sleep. Marry me, I said. Again, not because you have to, not because of Olivia, but because I love you. Because these 18 months have shown me we can actually partner. Because I want to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of your trust. She looked at me for a long moment, then smiled. Yes, she said, but we're doing it differently this time, with counseling, with boundaries, with mutual respect, built into everything. Agreed, agreed. I pulled her close. Whatever you need, whatever makes you feel safe and respected, all of it. We remarried 6 months later. Small ceremony, just close family and friends. A celebration not of new love, but of rebuilt trust, of second chances, of partnership. 5 years later, we had a son, Marcus, who completed our family perfectly. The rebuilding hadn't been easy. There were setbacks, moments when old patterns tried to resurface, times when I had to consciously choose trust over control, times when Iris had to consciously choose communication over withdrawal. But we worked through each challenge, sometimes with the help of our counselor, a brilliant therapist named Dr. Chen, who specialized in couples rebuilding after major relationship trauma. Sometimes just the two of us, late at night, having the hard conversations we'd avoided the first time around. I learned that protecting someone didn't mean controlling them, that loving Iris meant trusting her judgment even when it conflicted with mine. That partnership required vulnerability I'd never allowed myself before. She learned that my protective instincts came from love, not distrust, that setting boundaries didn't mean I'd leave, that she could be strong and still accept support. We learned together that marriage wasn't about being perfect. It was about choosing each other through imperfection, about growth instead of stagnation, about building something new instead of clinging to what didn't work. Our children grew up knowing our story, not the sanitized version, the real one, complete with mistakes and consequences and the hard work of rebuilding. Tell the story again, Olivia asked one evening when she was 7. Marcus was 5, curled up beside her on the couch. Iris looked at me, smiled, and began. Your father and I were married once before, and we made a lot of mistakes. He tried too hard to protect me and forgot to partner with me. I pushed him away instead of teaching him what I needed, and we both lost each other for a while. But then you found us, Olivia interjected, having heard this story dozens of times. At the crosswalk, and everything changed. Not immediately, I added. It took time, work, learning to trust each other again, learning to actually communicate instead of just reacting. But yes, seeing you that day, realizing you existed, it changed everything, made me understand what really mattered, what I'd been missing. And then the bad men took us. Olivia's eyes went wide. She loved this part. Yes, Iris said gently. Some very bad people took me and baby Olivia, and your father came to rescue us. Like a superhero, Marcus exclaimed. Not exactly, I said carefully. We'd decided to be honest with our children about my past, age appropriately. I did things I'm not proud of to get you back, made choices that weren't heroic, just desperate, because losing you wasn't an option. But you saved us, Olivia insisted. I did. I agreed. And then your mother gave me another chance, the most important chance of my life. She could have walked away, could have kept me out of your lives, but she was brave enough to trust me again, to give us another opportunity to get things right. And now you're happy? Marcus asked, as he always did. Very happy, Iris confirmed, because we learned how to love each other better, how to be partners instead of just people who live together, how to respect each other's strengths instead of trying to control everything. Even when it's hard? Olivia asked. Especially when it's hard, I said. The easy times don't test you, the hard times do. That's when you have to choose partnership over selfishness, communication over silence, trust over control. That night, after the kids were asleep, Iris and I stood on our balcony overlooking the city, the same city where I'd frozen at a crosswalk 9 years ago, staring at my ex-wife holding a baby I didn't know existed. Do you ever regret it? She asked. The first marriage? The divorce? Everything we went through to get here? Never, I said honestly, because it taught us what we needed to learn. About partnership, about trust, about loving someone without trying to control them. We needed to fail to understand how to succeed. That's a very optimistic way to view 18 months of misery. She smiled. Maybe. I pulled her close. But it led to this. To us. To our family. To a relationship built on actual partnership instead of my fear and control. I'd go through it all again for this outcome. Liar, she said affectionately. You'd absolutely find a way to skip the painful parts if you could. Probably, I admitted. But since I can't, I'm choosing to be grateful for what we built from the ruins. For the second chance you gave me. For the family we created. For everything. I'm grateful too. She leaned into me. For your willingness to change. For the work you put into becoming a better partner. For being the father Olivia and Marcus deserve. For all of it. You know what the hardest part was? I asked. During those 9 months we were apart. What? Not knowing about Olivia. I said quietly. If I'd known you were pregnant when you left, I don't know if I could have let you go. Even knowing it was right. Even understanding you needed space. The knowledge that you were carrying my child and I couldn't be there would have broken me. That's exactly why I didn't tell you, she admitted. Not because I wanted to hurt you, but because I knew you'd use it as justification for more control, more restrictions, more decisions made without my input, and I couldn't raise a child in that environment, couldn't teach her to be strong and independent while living under constant surveillance and overprotection. I understand now, I said, why you made that choice. It was protecting both of you from who I was then, from the person I needed to stop being before I could be a good partner, a good father. You are a good father. She turned in my arms. You're patient with them. You listen to their opinions. You let them make age-appropriate choices even when it scares you. That's growth, Dominic. Real, fundamental growth. Because you taught me how, I said. Showed me what partnership looks like, what it means to respect autonomy while still offering support. You've made me better in every possible way. We made each other better. She corrected. I learned things too. About accepting help. About communicating needs instead of expecting you to read my mind. About the difference between healthy protection and suffocating control. We both grew. And standing there, 9 years after that crosswalk moment that changed everything, I knew something with absolute certainty. That frozen moment, that shocked realization that I had a daughter I'd never known about, had been the catalyst for everything that followed. For recognizing what I'd lost, for understanding what needed to change, for becoming someone who could actually sustain a partnership instead of destroying it through fear and control. Iris had been right to leave me the first time, right to protect herself and Olivia from my controlling behavior, right to demand I become better before she'd consider trying again. But she'd also been brave enough to give me that second chance, to let me prove I could change, to build something new and stronger from the ashes of what we'd destroyed. Some love stories are perfect from the start. Meet, fall in love, live happily without major obstacles. Ours required destruction and rebuilding, required loss and rediscovery, required learning how to love without consuming, required fundamental transformation of who I was and how I approached relationships. But it was real, hard-won, built on actual partnership and mutual respect instead of just attraction and hope, built on choosing each other through difficulty instead of just enjoying easy times. And that made it worth everything we'd endured to find our way back to each other, worth the pain of divorce, worth the fear of kidnapping, worth the hard work of counseling and communication and constant self-examination, because we'd built something that would last, something our children could see and learn from, something that proved people could change, relationships could heal, and love could survive even the most catastrophic mistakes. All because I froze at a crosswalk 9 years ago, staring at my ex-wife holding a baby, and realized everything I'd lost. All because she was brave enough to give me another chance to get it right. If you made it to the end of Dominic and Iris's journey from divorce to second chances, from loss to rediscovery, from control to partnership, smash that like button right now. Tell me in the comments, do you believe people can really change this fundamentally? Would you give an ex a second chance? After everything, what would you do if you discovered you had a child you never knew about? Then you need to subscribe to this channel immediately. Hit that notification bell and turn on all notifications so you never miss another story about second chances, impossible choices, and love that survives everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next story. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and turn on that bell. See you soon.